On a quiet stretch of country highway, under the pale orange heat of a late afternoon sun, a black driver ended up with an angry cop in his face and cold metal slamming against his wrists. What that officer didn't know was that the man he was yelling at wasn't just any driver. In a few seconds, one small piece of metal inside a worn leather wallet would turn that entire roadside scene upside down. Marcus Reed was just trying to get home. He worked a double shift in the city and was finally off duty, windows cracked, radio low, the hum of the tires almost lulling him into a calm he rarely felt these days. The two-lane road rolled between dry fields and scattered trees, the kind of place where you could drive 10 minutes without seeing another car. He checked his speed, steady at the limit. He knew the route well. He'd picked it on purpose. No heavy traffic, no sudden stops, just space to breathe. But in his rearview mirror, blue and red lights flickered to life. At first, Marcus thought the cruiser just wanted to pass. He lifted his foot a little, eased toward the shoulder. Then the siren chirped, short and sharp, and the cruiser tucked directly behind them. That familiar knot twisted in his stomach, the one he'd known since he was a teenager. He signaled and pulled over slowly, hands already tightening on the steering wheel. The sun glared off the side mirror. He could see the door of the patrol car swing open, the silhouette of a stocky white officer climbing out fast, like he was already angry. "Here we go," Marcus whispered to himself, forcing his breath to stay even. The officer marched up, boots crunching on gravel, hand practically bouncing on his holster. His face was flushed, jaw clenched, eyes narrowed like he'd already decided something ugly about the man in the driver's seat. Behind him, another car slowed, then another, curiosity drawing them in like moths to blue and red flame. "Turn the engine off, now!" the officer barked, voice booming over the empty road. Marcus did as told, key clicking, engine fading to a low hum before cutting out completely. Both hands went straight back to the wheel, fingers spread wide. "Yes, sir, officer," he said, keeping his voice calm, steady, the way they'd trained him, the way his mother had begged him to talk anytime there was a badge and a gun in front of him.
If you think this little guy is cute, please hit like and subscribe, or else this man will knock on your doorstep tomorrow.
The officer leaned down, closer to the window. So close, Marcus could see tiny beads of sweat along his temple. The name tag on his chest read Turner.
"You swerved over the center line back there," Turner growled. "Looked like you were trying to run from me before you even saw my lights."
"That's not what happened," Marcus said quietly. "If it seemed that way, I apologize. I pulled over as soon as I—"
"Don't argue with me!"
Turner's voice shot up another level.
"Step out of the vehicle, now!"
Marcus swallowed hard. He'd been in plenty of confrontations wearing a badge of his own, but this felt different. He wasn't in a tactical vest or standing behind a shield of authority. He was just a black man alone on an empty road with someone who already sounded like he wanted trouble. His leather wallet, with a worn silver badge tucked perfectly behind his driver's license, sat in his pocket. He could say it. He could lead with it. "I'm a U.S. Deputy Marshal." But a small voice in the back of his mind told him to wait, to see, to handle this like any ordinary man would have to. He cracked the door with his left hand, keeping his right visible on the wheel. Slowly, he stepped out. The heat hit him first, hot air pressing against his skin. Then came the officer's presence, bigger and heavier up close. Turner stepped forward, chest puffed, shoulders squared. He jabbed a finger toward the edge of the road. "Hands on the hood," he ordered. "We're not playing games today." "For what, sir?" Marcus asked, still trying to keep his tone soft. "Am I being detained? I'd just like to know." "I said hands on the hood," Turner roared, making a fist. His voice echoed across the open field. A car passing by slowed almost to a stop. Someone in the passenger seat lifted a phone, aiming it toward them. Turner noticed and stiffened, jaw flexing. Instead of calming down, his eyes flashed with something like wounded pride. Marcus placed his palms slowly on the warm metal of his own hood. The paint shimmered with reflections of flashing lights. His heart pounded in his ears. He heard Turner's belt rattle, heard the jingle of metal.
The officer's breath came closer, hot and angry. "Got any weapons on you?" Turner demanded, already patting down his sides with a roughness that made Marcus grit his teeth. "No, sir. I'm unarmed." The irony burned, because just a few hours earlier, he checked his service weapon into the secure locker at the federal building. Off duty, no gun, no backup. Just policy and hope.
Turner scoffed like he didn't believe a word. He grabbed Marcus's wrist, suddenly wrenching it behind his back. The sharp twist sent a spike of pain through Marcus's shoulder. Metal slapped against his skin, the handcuffs dangling, ready. "You're nervous," Turner snarled. "You avoiding eye contact. You stuttered when you answered me. That tells me you're hiding something." "I'm nervous because you're yelling at me on the side of the road," Marcus managed through gritted teeth. "I haven't done anything wrong." "Oh, you've done plenty," Turner snapped. "Resisting, suspicious behavior. I know your type." That sentence sat there in the air, heavy and poisonous. Marcus's fingers curled against the hood. "My type, sir?" he asked quietly. "You heard me," Turner said. "You think you can just cruise through here ignoring the law? Not in my town." From the corner of his eye, another car pulled over farther back now. A man stood on the shoulder, phone lifted, clearly recording. The realization hit Marcus like a slow, steady current. Whatever happened here wasn't just between the two of them anymore. The world had a window to this stretch of asphalt. Turner yanked his arm higher, preparing to snap the cuff around Marcus's wrist. The metal dug into his skin. Marcus felt that old, familiar rage scrape against the inside of his chest, the one he'd spent years learning how to control, how to channel. He thought of his mother's voice years ago, trembling as she said, "Promise me you'll come home, baby, no matter what they say to you, no matter how wrong it is." "Officer," Marcus said, forcing each word out slowly. "My wallet is in my back pocket. I'm going to reach for it with my free hand, very slowly. I want you to see something before you put those on me." Turner laughed, sharp and bitter. "Oh yeah? You think I'm stupid? You think I'm letting you reach for anything? I'm telling you clearly what I'm doing. You can take it out yourself if you prefer. Back right pocket." There was a pause. Maybe it was the phone recording down the road. Maybe it was some sliver of training breaking through the fog of his temper. Turner grunted, shifted his hold, and with his free hand, reached into Marcus's back pocket, dragging the wallet out roughly. The leather was worn, almost black from years of use. Turner flipped it open, probably expecting a license he could smear at, maybe an address he could question. Instead, tucked neatly behind the plastic window, gleaming dully in the sun, was a silver badge stamped with bold letters, "United States Marshal Service." For the first time since he stepped out of his cruiser, Turner went silent. Marcus felt the grip on his wrist loosen just a fraction. He heard the small hitch in the officer's breath. The handcuffs hovered midair, suddenly too heavy. "What is this?" Turner muttered. "That," said Marcus, still facing the hood, "is my badge. Deputy U.S. Marshal Marcus Reed, out of the Eastern District. I'm off duty, returning home from court testimony. You can call it in if you like. I recommend you do." Behind them, another cruiser pulled up, tires crunching. A second set of doors opened. A different voice called out, "Everything all right here, Turner?" This one sounded more measured, older. Turner didn't answer right away. Marcus felt the officer's hand tremble slightly against his arm. The second cop approached, boots grinding the gravel, eyes flicking from Marcus to the handcuffs, to the open wallet still in Turner's hand. "What's going on?" the newcomer asked. Turner swallowed. Traffic stop. Driver was acting suspicious. I was just verifying his ID." "Then verify it," the second officer said sharply, "because that looks like a marshal's badge to me." Slowly, like he was waking from a bad dream, Turner stepped back. The handcuff slipped from his fingers, dangling uselessly at his side. He handed the wallet to the second officer, who held it up, eyes narrowing as he read. "Deputy Reed," the man said, voice shifting instantly into something more respectful. "Is that correct?" "Yes, sir," Marcus replied, finally turning around, rubbing his wrist where the metal had dug in.
I didn't lead with it because I should be able to drive down a road without needing a badge to be treated like a human being." The second officer winced slightly, a crack in his composed mask. He introduced himself as Sergeant Hale, then stepped between Marcus and Turner like a wall. "Turner, did he fail any sobriety tests? Did you see any contraband? Do you have probable cause for anything more than a warning, if that?" Turner's face reddened all over again, but for a different reason. He was nervous, wouldn't look me in the eye, back-talked me." Hale's eyebrows shot up. "That's not a crime. That's basic fear when a gun and a badge are in your face on an empty road." He lowered his voice, but Marcus still heard it. "And I heard you from my car. You were yelling before you even asked his name." Down the road, the man with the phone kept recording. Another car had stopped behind him now. A woman leaned against her hood, watching, arms folded, expression tight. The air felt heavier, like the whole scene might crack under its own weight. "Deputy Reed," Hale said, turning back. "Do you want medical attention? Do you want to file a complaint?" Marcus took a slow breath. His shoulder ached, his wrist throbbed, but it was nothing compared to the years of stories he'd heard from people who never got as far as he had, who never had a badge of their own to pull out like a shield. "I'll be filing more than a complaint," he said quietly, "but not here. I'll handle it through the proper channels. For now, I just want to leave this road in one piece." Hale nodded. "Understood." He glanced back at Turner. "Apologize." Turner's jaw tightened like the word physically hurt him. He stared at Marcus for a long, stubborn second, then looked away. "Sorry," he muttered. Marcus held his gaze anyway. "I hope you're sorry for the right reason, not just because my badge scared you." The ride home felt different. Marcus's hands shook on the steering wheel for the first few miles. His dash cam had captured everything from the moment the lights flashed to the moment Turner's face changed. The bystander videos would start to spread within hours. He knew how these things worked. He also knew the footage could disappear into a file unless someone with authority refused to let it. In the weeks that followed, there were meetings, internal investigations, interviews with Marcus, with Sergeant Hale, with the witnesses who'd pulled over to record. The videos were played frame by frame. Turner's voice, full of venom, echoed off gray conference room walls. The sudden silence when the badge appeared hung longer than anything else. Turner was eventually suspended, then removed from the force. For some, that felt like justice. For Marcus, it felt incomplete. Because the truth is, if that badge hadn't been in his wallet, if he'd been anyone else, just another name, another face on an empty road, the outcome might have been very different. He thought about that every time he passed a patrol car sitting on the side of the highway, every time he saw blue and red reflections flicker in someone else's rearview mirror. Months later, a community forum was held at the town hall. Marcus almost skipped it. He was tired of reliving the moment, tired of explaining to people why the badge shouldn't have been the only thing that saved him. But he went, not as a marshal, not as a witness in a case, but as a black man who'd been pressed against the hood of his own car for daring to exist in the wrong place at the wrong time. He stood at the podium, looking out at the crowd, some skeptical, some angry, some quietly hopeful. Turner wasn't there. Hale sat in the back, arms folded, eyes attentive. "I want to be very clear," Marcus began. His voice shook, just a little, then steadied. "What happened on that road should never have happened to anyone. The only reason I'm standing here is because I had a piece of metal in my wallet that suddenly made me worthy of respect. But that badge doesn't make me more human. It doesn't make my life more valuable than anyone else's. If you need to see a title before you see a person, something is deeply broken." He told them about the fear, about the anger, about the way his mother's voice had echoed in his mind while a man twice his size yelled inches from his face. He talked about training, about accountability, about wearing a uniform should be an honor, not a license to unload your prejudice on the side of the highway. And he talked about the bystanders, the ones who slowed down, who refused to look away, who lifted their phones not for entertainment, but to protect a stranger. Justice isn't just what happens in a disciplinary hearing, Marcus said, his eyes scanning the room. It's what we demand every day for every person, whether they're wearing a badge or not. You shouldn't have to be a federal marshal to survive a traffic stop. When the forum ended, people lined up to shake his hand, to share their own stories. Some were quiet, some were angry at what they'd heard. Some just looked relieved that someone had finally said out loud what they'd felt for years. Marcus walked out into the cool night air feeling both heavy and lighter at the same time, weighted by the truth, but freed by speaking it. The dashcam footage of that day lives on now, circulating online with 1,000 different captions. Some focus on the twist, like racist cop freezes when he sees the badge. But for Marcus and for so many others, the real story isn't the shock on the officer's face. It's the question it leaves behind. Whose life gets protected, and why? If this story moved you, don't let it stop at the screen. Share it with someone. Talk about it at your table, in your group chats, in your communities. Stand up when you see injustice, whether or not a camera's rolling. And if you want to hear more real-life stories that challenge, disturb, and inspire us to fight for something better, consider subscribing and staying with us for the next episode. Together, we can keep shining a light on the roads where too many people are still driving alone in fear, and push, little by little, toward the world where no one needs a badge just to make it home.
Thank you for watching Dashcam and Justice Stories. You love more stories like this? Click the videos above and see you there.